Thank you very much. We shall now have the opportunity for silent prayers and meditation. Thank you very much. We may now take our seats. Good morning, honorable members. We are now here again in our formal sitting of the 6th March 2025 in the Luwahomu Legislative Chamber. I will need to verify with the programming committee while we received the motions, but we're told that the programming committee has resolved to defer the motions to the next sittings. Am I correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. It means item 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are deferred. We'll now proceed to item 7. Item 7, which is orders of the day. We've got 7.1, Premier's response to the debate on the State of the Province address. We shall now call upon the Honorable, the Premier of Limpopo, Dr. Popira Matuba, to respond to the debate made by honorable members during the State of the Province. Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, our Deputy Speaker, members of the Executive Council, the Chief Whip, members of the Provincial Legislature, the Chair of Chairs, the Deputy Chair of Chairs, Whippery, and chairpersons of all various committees. Good morning. Honorable Speaker, I stand before you today with a deep sense of gratitude for the critical responses and robust debate that followed the State of the Province address delivered on the 27th of February 2025. Your engagement is a show of our collective commitment to the development of Limpopo. We appreciate the diverse perspectives shared in this esteemed House. We also acknowledge the diverse debates that have also taken place outside this House, showing the extent of interest this address has elicited. We may not go into individual responses. However, we shall make attempts to cover general aspects that have been raised. It is important to acknowledge that despite our differences, honorable members, there is a consensus amongst us regarding the path of development that our province requires. We all agree that our primary focus must be on growing the economy to include everyone and fighting the scourge of poverty that has plagued our communities for far too long. This shared vision of building an ethical and developmental state is crucial as we move forward together. What stands out from the debate is the unanimous desire amongst members to see the commitments we have made come to fruition. No one desires progress more than we do. Honorable Speaker, this is a commitment that the 7th administration, I, along the entire Executive Council, have made to our people. We are alive to the reality that our people are getting impatient with our failure to honor our commitments. It is for this reason that, as a start, just yesterday and today, we convened a summit of all senior management from all our 10 departments and all our state-owned entities. These are men and women whose primary responsibility is to implement its implementation of our plans. It is critical for them to understand and appreciate what is at stake should we fail to deliver on our commitments. We would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation to the African National Congress for deploying capable men and women in various roles within the legislature and the executives. Their contribution during the debate have elevated our collective responsibility to make Limpopo a province we can all be proud of. It is true that the ANC-led government has transformed the socio-economic landscape of our province. While we may be considered as a rural province, it is noteworthy that 94.4% of our settlements are formalized dwelling now. We have made significant strides in improving access to electricity, access to healthcare, access to education, and also sanitation. We've built more clinics, we've built more human settlements, and also we've built schools in the 30 years than any other government has done in 300 years. True to our form, and as Honorable Mukhanyana, our Chief Whip, acknowledged, I open a quote, we are honest to ourselves, and where we have encountered challenges, we've always been the first to acknowledge and confront them, close quote. Honorable members will agree with us that the way we were detailed when presenting our SOPA, even members of the opposition parties struggled to find fault in our speech and resorted in repeating issues that we have already acknowledged. Honorable Wilson, we are not sleeping on duty. Hence, the withdrawal of US funding for HIV/AIDS programs has not hindered our work and our initiatives. That is why you saw the Minister of Health recently, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, together with his 9 MECs, recently launching another program of finding 1.1 million missing people who are living with HIV but are not on ARVs, because we know once we find them, we will give them ARVs with or without Trump. And also just yesterday, the Global Fund Executive Director for HIV, TB, and Malaria, Peter Sens, said they are still maintaining their ambition of lenacapavir. This is a pre-exposure prophylaxis medication which is given to HIV-negative individuals to protect them from getting infected. And he said, with or without PEPFAR funding, PEPFAR is Trump funding, they will continue as the global fund. So we are not sleeping on duty. Our patients will continue to get treatment as they were getting. While some NGOs may be affected, all public health facilities continue to offer essential support. We shall allocate about 23 million to retain staff linked to public health facilities from such NGOs. We are a resilient nation, and as our president said, we shall never allow to be bullied by anyone. Honorable Lulamile Jack, the problem of presenting speeches that are written somewhere else is that you forget to look at the relevance of the text. Regurgitating debates that took place in Parliament a month ago with just slight changes where it's a president, premier, where is SOPA, SONA, it's not good for you. We were very clear on the gender-based violence and femicide, starting with the feedback we gave to this August House of a commitment of the summit, which was held immediately after making that commitment last year. We even went further to direct the MEC for Social Development, together with the team, to make sure they monitor implementations of the resolution taken. Let us also remind you, Honorable Lulamile Jack, we have raised concerns about the 2 nurses who were raped while on duty, and 4 students whom we visited 2 days ago to provide psychosocial support, because the ANC-led government is a caring government. So I don't understand when you say we have not said anything about gender-based violence and femicide. We have been the ones who have made a connection between unemployment and mental health issues. Hence, we are repeating the danger of reading speeches written by somewhere else is that you begin to sound like an old scratch record. That claim that we have made no progress in combating TB and HIV and AIDS can only come from someone who doesn't stay in this province. Statistics shows a marked improvement with life expectancy rising from 56 years to 67 years for women because of the intervention on TB, HIV and AIDS, including malaria. So Honorable Mugwan, she's not here. To have more than 200 clinics operating 24 hours, it's a remarkable achievement. Growing up, one can't remember any clinic operating 24 hours. This is the first time when our province has been able to achieve this number. And this is work in progress. Hence, we reported that the department is currently recruiting more than 300 professional nurses to activate more clinics to operate 24 hours. We must not take it for granted, the progress that the ANC-led government has made in terms of building clinics. For example, as we were driving here, I took an exercise to check on the 45-kilometer stretch road D4040 between Hachweni and Boyne. And I realized that we have got just 45 kilometers. We've got 8 clinics that this government has built. We've got Hachweni. We have a Hachweni clinic. We have a Hamaja clinic. We have Soetfontein clinic. We have Mamushi clinic. We've got Hamulepo. We've got Unit 14. We've got Sitlale. And we also have got Evelyn Lekanyane clinic. So why are we saying we are doing nothing? Honorable members, while still on the matter of security at health facilities, we are encouraged by the recent crime statistics in the province. Of course, it would be ideal to see the total clamp down on crime. But we are on record that in the 3rd quarter of 2024, Limpopo has witnessed a significant improvement in crime statistics, boasting a remarkable reduction across some of the 17 major crime categories, rendering Limpopo as the safest province in South Africa. So thank you, Manana Violet, and our own General, Lieutenant General Tembika Debe, Batswara Tipa ka bohaleng. We appreciate this good progress. This notable decline reflects concerted efforts by our law enforcement agencies and community initiatives aimed at enhancing public safety. Specifically, crime categories such as sexual offenses, attempted murder, robbery, rape, and assault have recorded the largest reductions, signaling a positive trend towards safer neighborhoods. The collaborative approach to crime prevention and community engagement appears to be yielding fruitful results, fostering a sense of security and trust amongst residents in the province. Honorable Speaker, while some may argue for tarred roads over gravel, we must acknowledge that the time it will take to upgrade all our provincial roads, especially that the funds we require are not even available. The MEC for Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, in his debate, shared with us that they would require more than 300 billion to tar the entire province. So in the meantime, we are committed to improving lives of our residents who recognize the good work being done. You'll be surprised, honorable members, at the number of requests we continue to receive, even as the Premier's office, for hashtag the Kgerekgere Wednesday intervention that so far has made a mark, notwithstanding the rains and floods. And the directive that we've given is that the MEC for Finance, during his speech, will be able to unpack on how we are going to fund these roads that have been damaged. We have also acknowledged the challenges surrounding water provision in Guyana, and we are implementing the turnaround strategies. Give us time. It was just 6 months, and we spent the 6 months analyzing the problem, because mathematicians have taught us that if you want to pass, to get solve the mathematic problem, spend 80% of your time understanding that equation. Then 20% will be to respond, and you won't get it wrong. So give us time. Our turnaround strategy will extend across the province. The members of the House, we have openly discussed the challenges facing the Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone and our intervention required to ensure its success. The Musina Council, which I have indicated here that they were going to meet, has already met and approved necessary processes for land use. The Makhado municipality, on the other hand, is finalizing necessary approvals. We anticipate that the floor area ratio will be completed by the 11th of March 2025, with the traffic impact assessment following by the 25th of March 2025. The legal team is addressing outstanding objections and expect to submit to the Makhado Municipal Planning Tribunal by the 14th of April 2025. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is disheartening to witness objections to the Musina Makhado SEZ development, especially when it promises to uplift historically marginalized communities. We must question the motives of those lobby groups who oppose this project. Are they genuinely committed to the development of Black communities, or are they perpetuating an apartheid mentality that seeks to subjugate our people for capital gain? Or, honorable members, are we not dealing with enemies of progress here, who don't want to see our young people getting employed? Remember, some of them are not even citizens of this province or citizens of this country. They are threatened by our development. They want to see us continue to be eternal slaves, beggars, going hand in cap to the likes of Donald Trump, asking for ARV money. We must ask, what tangible contributions are they making to improve the lives of our people in these areas? Who is actually funding them, honorable members? Honorable members, we will continue to provide free education to those who may not fully understand the dynamics of investment pledges. Since the inception of our investment conference, we have seen numerous pledges materialize. Just 2 days ago, I witnessed the signing of a memorandum agreement between the Bembe District Municipality, Collins Chabani Municipality, and the Masingita Group of companies. This group has committed to be building Nkuna City in Nkuzana, and they've already made significant progress since they have made their pledges. I'm not sure Honorable Mukoni will remember the year where they made the pledges. They've made progress by construction of a mall and a filling station as part of phase 1 and 2. This MOU will result into our municipality providing bulk services in order for phase 3, which will include, amongst others, construction of residential units, Akankuzana, schools, industries, health facilities, and others. So furthermore, we have been diligent in following up on the 120 billion pledge from the recent investment conference, as MEC of Lided has outlined during the debate on Tuesday, and he will provide further details during his budget vote. Honorable members, we have noted opportunistic tendency aimed at using the current challenges of Zebediela Citrus Farm as a justification for rejecting government's commitment on land reform. We felt it is critical to take some few minutes of your time and address this matter. Like in the rest of the country, this province faces a formidable challenge of land reform. By land reform, I refer to the three pillars enshrined in Section 25 of our Constitution, namely land restitution, land redistribution, and land tenure reform. The recently passed Appropriation Act of 2024 stands as a unique and important landmark to usher in a new era of rapid release of land, large-scale acquisition of land, and the return of the land to persons who have been previously dispossessed and then locked out of the land value chain by discriminatory laws of apartheid, such as the Group Areas Act and the so-called Community Development Act, all of which are progenies of the notoriously racist Natives Land Act of 1913. The 1913 Natives Land Act is the original sin. By the stroke of a pen, Africans were deemed non-citizens, squatters and non-peasants in their country of birth. Hence, as argued in the book Land Matters Open Quote, the struggle for freedom was the struggle for the land. Since 1994, the democratic government has made strides to achieve equitable distribution of land and to end property racism. Yet property racism, land dispossession, and land inequality remain. For instance, it is a shameful fact to state today that 70% of commercial agricultural land is in the hands of white people. This was the situation in 1994, and it is clear that land reform faces stubborn and formidable resistance. The right-wing organization, including some within the Democratic Alliance, which pretends to be liberal, and also AfriForum, Solidarity, which do not even pretend to hide their contempt of black people, have engaged in a new offensive against land reform. For its part, the Democratic Alliance has purported to engage our courts to frustrate the transformation. Progressive forces must oppose this challenge and expose the DA for the reactionary force that it is. AfriForum, on the other hand, has turned to foreign governments to use their might to choke South Africa's march to freedom and land justice. Just as President Ramaphosa declared, we shall not be deterred, neither shall we be bullied. The path towards freedom continues, honorable members. True, land reform is bedeviled by the challenge of maintaining land in the productive usage. The argument which links land reform to dismal production of land, it's born of mischief. It seeks to draw not only correlation, but also causation. It argues simple that land reform is the cause of decline in land productivity. It is not difficult to see why the argument is both ignorant and at times racist. To place it in perspective, land reform is a matter of justice, both economic justice and historical justice. It is imperative in the Constitution for land reform. It's one born of centuries of struggles against imperialism and colonizing. That struggle is incomplete and it must be fought. But we should never confuse the struggle of economic jingoism which blames land reform for economic stagnation. The truth is that we need both land reform and economic development. In fact, land reform, it's a necessary precondition of economic development. There can never be economic development in a country with such levels of high concentration of land in few hands. If there's anything utterly unproductive, it is the continuous link between restitution of land and land productivity. The sooner it is understood that restitution of land is not an imperative of comments, but one of justice, the better. The economic production of land restored back to the land claimant is important, but it is to lose the plot to make the economic production of the land a precondition of restitution. Honorable members, the Community Property Association model, which is what I was referring to during the State of the Province address, as provided for the Community Property Association of 1996, has failed, and the model needs to be seriously reviewed, and government needs to come up with a model that will give land ownership back to individual land beneficiaries. It will therefore be a waste of time to try and work through the individual challenges affecting each CPA, because some of them challenges are structural and systematic. According to the 2022-2023 CPA annual report by the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, it was revealed that 1,141 CPAs in the country are non-compliant with the rules and regulations of governance. This is what we're referring to. The Bediela CPA, it's one of those. 188 were partly compliant, while only 81 were compliant. Some of the key challenges necessitating this dysfunction include the infighting, inadequate management skills, legal non-compliance, and the legal government support. The results of this CPA chaos is that land is now lying fallow and is not being put to productive use to benefit the beneficiary. In essence, CPA members who want to engage in productive farming are now being held to ransom by those who are only concerned about fighting for position. The envisaged model will give birth to a new dispensation where individuals are allowed to own and farm their own pieces of land. Individual ownership will address the current system where CPAs are now being used for rent-seeking purposes with limited to no production taking place. So let's not take this and be opportunist. Therefore, honorable members, we have not given up on Zebediela Citrus. I heard Honorable Mapelo said we have given up. We have not given up. We were just stating the facts on where our diagnosis in terms of challenges are and what needs to be done. One will also recommend honorable members to read a book written by one of our own South African land reform complexes, the Marobala Uituse experience, written by one of our own veteran, Mr. Chavangwan. You will get educated like you see I am now educated after going through that book. Allow me to conclude by quoting Honorable Machete, who said, open quote, "It will be crucial for achieving sustainable development as it is directly impacts poverty reduction, economic growth, improved health, education, and gender equality by providing essential services like lighting and enabling people to live better lives and contribute more fully to their communities," close quote. I felt that was very powerful. Madam Speaker, one is highlighting these points not because there's a disagreement in the House, but because we are singing from the same hymn book, emphasizing our commitment to honoring our promises. We stand here on behalf of the Executive Council to reaffirm that commitment. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier, for the response to the debate. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Premier. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable members will now proceed to item 7.2. Item 7.2 is the first reading of the Limpopo Amendment Adjustment Appropriation Bill, Bill 02-2025. Honorable MEC Mawai, MEC for Provincial Treasury.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Honorable members of the House in your different ranks and levels, ladies and gentlemen, mine is just a short one, but I really need to thank the Honorable Speaker for having indulging us to come here to request the House to consider the Adjustment Appropriation Amendment Bill 2025. You'll understand that this pertains to the current financial year and could not have waited for the actual presentation of the budget. Climate change is no longer a distant threat, it is a lived reality that is reshaping the lives of our communities, public infrastructure, and the economy in general. Its impact is evident in the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events which continue to disrupt livelihoods and strain public resources. As you will recall, in December 2024, our province experienced heavy downpours and strong winds that caused widespread damage to critical infrastructure, including schools, government buildings, government offices, health facilities, libraries, as well as district and provincial roads. The destruction has not only placed an immense financial burden on the province, but has also disrupted essential services, negatively affecting the socio-economic well-being of our people. The Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs, COGSTA, through the Provincial Disaster Management Center, has assessed the damage and had made a submission for funding of immediate recovery and rehabilitation projects in the province for the short to medium term incidences that could not have been left to be persisting. So in total, the total preliminary provincial department cost estimates received amounted to almost 2 billion rand for the restoration of the damaged infrastructure. However, a request for urgent recovery and rehabilitation interventions funding amounting to 723.4 million was received by Provincial Treasury from the Provincial Disaster Management Center for the current financial year, covering the remaining 2 months of the same current financial year. Madam Speaker, contrary to a view held by many that the PFMA is an impediment to service delivery, if not too much ridden with compliance, we, however, want to submit that this is not the case. It is actually an enabler rather than any other thing. Therefore, it is in this context that one would like to refer to Section 25 of the same Act, which gives provision for the use of funds in emergency situations. In fact, Section 25, subsection 1 of the same Act provides that the MEC for Finance in a province may authorize the use of funds from that province's provincial revenue fund to defray expenditure of an exceptional nature, which is currently not provided for and which cannot, without serious prejudice to the public interest, in the province be postponed to a future appropriation by the provincial legislature. This is a direct quote from the Act. So subsection 6 of the same section 25 further prescribes that the expenditure in terms of subsection 1 must be included either in the next provincial adjustments budget for the financial year in which the expenditure is authorized, or in other appropriation legislation tabled in the provincial legislature within 120 days of the MEC of Finance in the province authorizing such expenditure, whichever is the sooner. To this effect, and empowered by the same legislation and at the behest of the Premier and Executive Council, that something has to be done with immediate effect because there were serious damages in majority of our roads. I therefore authorized in terms of section 25 the withdrawal of 500 million rand from the Provincial Revenue Fund to fund the urgent recovery and rehabilitation intervention request received from the Provincial Disaster Management Center, which was then endorsed by the Provincial Executive Council. And as required per section 25, subsection 4 of the same PFMA, I've reported the section 25 approval to the provincial legislature and the Auditor General within the prescribed 14 days. Therefore, we are in compliance with the law in this regard. But in order to fund the 500 million rand, all provincial departments were then requested to declare savings to be surrendered into the Provincial Revenue Fund to augment the funding of this intervention. I'm happy to report that the provincial departments heeded the call and have made an amount of 271.6 million rand available to fund emergency recovery and rehabilitation intervention projects, which will be surrendered to the Provincial Revenue Fund to assist in funding these 500 million rand as authorized. Madam Speaker, furthermore, the Minister of Finance has, in compliance with Section 18 and 19 of the Division of Revenue Act, Act 3 of 2024, published Gazette number 52207 dated 3 March 2025, which gives effect to the following changes to the allocations to the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements, and Traditional Affairs, COGSTA, and Department of Education, respectively. In compliance with Section 18 of DORA, the Division of Revenue Act, the National Department of Human Settlements had stopped the transfer of funds to the Western Cape to the tune of 200 million rand and Gauteng 300 million and Free State 50 million for the Human Settlements Development Grant, following revised allocations by the National Department of Human Settlements. On the other hand, the National Department of Basic Education stopped the transfer of 175.9 million funds for Limpopo Department of Education for the Education Infrastructure Grant, following revised allocations by the National Department of Basic Education. In compliance with Section 19 of DORA, the National Department of Human Settlement reallocates 200 million rand Human Settlements Development Grant funds to COGSTA Limpopo. In compliance with Section 31 of the PFMA 1999 as amended, I herewith table the 2024-25 Provincial Adjustment Appropriation Amendment to provide for the following. To provide for appropriation of funds that has become available to the province, as I alluded earlier, unforeseeable and unavoidable expenditure recommended by the Provincial Executive Council led by the Premier within the framework prescribed in law. Also, the expenditure in terms of Section 25, as I've indicated in my earlier paragraphs, as well as the shifting of funds between and within votes and the utilization of savings under a main division within a vote for defrayment of excess expenditure under the main division within the same vote in terms of Section 43 of the PFMA. To this effect, Honorable Speaker and the House, the budget adjustment allocations per department are proposed to be amended as follows. Vote 1, the Office of the Premier. The Office of the Premier surrenders savings of 11 million for the provincial disaster recovery and rehabilitation, and the department's budget is then revised downwards from 510.3 million to 499.4 million rand. Vote 2, Legislature. The adjusted allocation was not affected and will remain same at 648.5 million rand. Vote 3, Education. The allocation has been adjusted downward by 213.5 million rand, which includes the stoppage of 187.965 million from the Education Infrastructure Grant and the surrender of 112 million declared savings for the provincial disaster recovery and rehabilitation intervention. The department also receives an amount of 86.4 million for disaster management intervention for infrastructure damaged by floods. There's no contradiction, the floods that happened in October last year. Therefore, the department's budget is therefore amended from 40.0 billion to 39.8 billion rand. Vote for Agriculture and Rural Development. The department's budget allocation has been adjusted downward by 35.3 million from 1.84 billion rand to 1.81 billion rand as a result of declared savings to augment the provincial disaster funding. Vote 5, Provincial Treasury. Provincial Treasury surrenders 11.5 million to fund the provincial disaster recovery and rehabilitation interventions, and the department's budget is adjusted downward from 453.1 million to 441.6 million rand. Vote 6, Economic Development, Environment and Tourism. The allocation has been adjusted downward by 10.2 million rand from 1.81 billion rand to 1.80 billion rand as a result of declared savings to augment the provincial disaster funding. Vote 7, Health. The department's budget allocation has been increased by 1.0 million for disaster management interventions from 24.757 billion rand to 24.758 billion rand. Vote 8, Transport and Community Safety. The adjusted allocation has been amended downwards by 50.6 million from 2.642 billion to 2.591 billion rand to augment the disaster funding. Vote 9, Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure. The department's allocation increases by 412.2 million for urgent infrastructure, disaster recovery, and rehabilitation interventions. As you recall, more damages on the roads and buildings. It reduces by declared savings of 13.5 million at the same time. So there's a matter of offsets here. The department's net increase, therefore, in the allocated budget is 398.7 million from 5.675 billion to 6.074 billion rand. Vote 10, Sport, Arts and Culture receives an additional 332,000 for infrastructure damaged by the floods, and the department will surrender identified savings amounting to 10 million to fund provincial disaster needs. Thus, the budget of the department is adjusted by a net increase of 9.668 million from 754.0 million to 744.3 million rand. Vote 11, Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs. The allocation to the department has been increased by the additional conditional grant allocation from the National Human Settlements of 200 million rand for human settlements, and the department's equitable share is reduced by 5 million rand to fund the provincial disaster recovery and rehabilitation interventions, which gives us a net increase of 195 million rather, from 2.687 billion to 2.882 billion rand. Vote 12, social development. The budget adjustment allocation is adjusted from 2.104 billion to 2.091 billion rand, a decrease of 12.5 million rand to fund the provincial disaster recovery and rehabilitation interventions. Madam Speaker, I hereby, in terms of Section 31 of the Public Finance Management Act, number 1 of 1999 as amended, herewith tables the Limpopo Adjustment Appropriation Amendment Bill 02 of 2025 to effect these adjustments and increase the provincial budget by 240.5 million rand from the original 83.946 billion rand to 84.187 billion rand. Also tables with the Limpopo Adjustment Appropriation Amendment Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure 2024-25. Thus, it concludes what we are submitting, and we can see that we can respond as urgently as possible for as long as we are thinking in the right direction and having the right motives. And this I submit. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. The bill is now referred to the Portfolio Committee of Provincial Treasury for consideration and report back to the House. Thank you so much. We now move to, before we go to item 8, let me take this opportunity to recognize and welcome the presence of veteran Sichabangwana. When the Premier was responding, she did quote him, and we want to appreciate that indeed is a scholar that will continue to learn from him. Most of us will have to buy the book so that we can learn more. You are welcome, Tate Nkwana. We really appreciate your presence sitting in our legislature. As well, we recognize those that we did not see who were our guests in the gallery. Feel welcome in this legislature. If we did not welcome you, we really humbly apologize. You are here to support us. You are here to be part of this. When they say people shall govern, this is how we are now governing. Thank you so much. We'll now proceed to item 8, Deputy Speaker. Me Poshia Tebogo Mamrobel.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, honorable members. Honorable members, the sitting will adjourn today until Tuesday, the 25 March 2025. This will allow SOPA to complete its hearing before the end of the financial year. Lunch will be served at the committee's boardroom. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The House is adjourned to Tuesday, 25 March at 10 o'clock in this Leboa Khomo Legislative Chamber. Thank you so much.